Hey there, it's Sam. We have the full moon in Aries coming up on November the 6th. This full moon is going to happen in the nakshatra of Bharani, which is ruled by the god Yama, the god of restraint and consequences. So it'll be a big full moon when we have this occur, because it'll be a time to really understand and reckon with the consequences of our actions. And that nakshatra Bharani and this deity called Yama is the one which shows how the consequences of our actions really frame our karma and frame the circumstances in our life. And it happens in Aries, which is the sign of action, taking new action, choosing a course of action. And it comes after the nakshatra Ashwini, which is about action. Ashwini is two horses that take action, and then the next nakshatra, Bharani, shows the consequences of those actions and the creation principle, because the symbol is the female reproductive system, the yoni, and the whole creation system in the woman, which is like the uterus and that whole sort of system. How our intention and our will penetrates reality and creates something, and usually it's something, or it's often something that has a definite barrier and structure to it. And that structure, whether it's a physical thing or a situation, is what restrains us in one way or another. So it doesn't necessarily mean that restraint is bad. We need some restraint. It's also just boundaries, but also this quality of restraint also gives a context for our growth. Like, for instance, in yoga, in true yoga, the first section of yoga, the first part of yoga is yamas, or restraints. Like, for instance, one of the restraints of yoga is ahimsa, which is non-violence. There are things that we shouldn't do, like be violent. So ahimsa is a yama, one of the yamas, and it's a good restraint. So we need some kind of restraint. It's only painful to our ego because we want to be unrestrained and just kind of wild. So this is a big theme, and it's not something that prevents, it doesn't really close things down. It just shows a structure that we need to learn from. What I mean to say is that, like I've just illustrated, some things that restrain us stop us from doing things, but it often stops us from doing things that were destructive. But it's still within the course of action because it happens in the sign of Aries. So it just shows how our impulsive actions, which is the nakshatra before, and Ashwini, which are two horses, and those horses can be running in different directions, but our unrestrained actions show the need to be restrained and to have restraint, and be focused on the true outcome, and to take that wild energy of action that's not focused and focus it on something to create and produce and give birth to the thing we really want to give birth to. Because we're always going to be giving birth to something, like I just said. And that thing that gets produced is a result of our actions and our will. So ponder that concept. It's a big concept. And again, usually or often in typical sort of one-dimensional, simplistic Vedic astrology, it's like Bharani, that's one of the bad ones. It's just not a good way to look at it. It's not a bad one. However, it is one that feels severe often to our ego, especially because, like I said, our ego doesn't want restraint. And there's a quality of punishment, feeling punished, feeling like it's unfair. People who have a lot of planets in Bharani often will exert a lot of punishment over others to try to, balance the scales and even the scales and things like that. The god Yama is the one who takes the soul to his final resting place. It's not really about punishment. Karma is not about punishment, because Yama also takes the soul to the higher realms. It's really just based on your merit and demerit. So again, there's no reason to judge it harshly, but it does usually feel harsh to us because of our ego. And this is a principle that you can apply in all astrological situations. When you hear astrologers talking about this is one of the bad ones, and it's bad, just filter that through the idea that nothing is really bad. It's bad to the part of us that wants to remain immature. But what is the creative quality of that difficulty? And that's where you can start entering a deeper relationship with all the astrological principles. And until you do, astrology is going to be something simplistic. You're going to feel like it's lording over you. You're going to be afraid of everything. You're going to be afraid of it. It doesn't teach us anything new. This is just a principle of life that we already know. So understand that quality. So again, this is a full moon that is in contrast to the sun, which is in Aries. So the sun is in Aries. I'm sorry, with the sun in Libra. Excuse me. So the sun is in Libra right now, which is about needing to activate and be more illuminated around compromise and sharing. And so the full moon in Aries gives this point of contrast, because the sun in Libra might be too accommodating right now, where we're too willing to compromise. So the opposite of that point is what the full moon is. So the full moon is where we have to reestablish the idea that, wait a second, if I'm compromising without honoring my needs first, and my needs equal to the others, then that's not going to be cool either. So the midway point of the sun cycle is the full moon, and it brings that point of contrast so we can reflect back and go, ah, okay, I've been too extreme. Because stereotypically, the first part, the waxing part of the cycle, is where we try to do that thing. So we've been trying to compromise. I'm trying to compromise, I'm trying to honor what you want, and now the full moon comes and says, but wait a minute, that doesn't feel right either, that's too extreme. And goes, I need to honor my wishes too. And then the rest of the moon cycle is about harmonizing those things. So understand this, and try to harmonize those extremes, and especially in this case because it's a Libra cycle. The sun is in Libra, and it started with the last solar eclipse. So we're somewhat eclipsed around this principle of compromise with others as well. So in addition, we have Venus is really close to the sun, and Mercury is also in Libra. So there's quite a couple, so there's quite a few planets in Libra right now, in particular Venus. So there's a lot of, desire and capacity to compromise right now. And so this Aries full moon, it might feel extreme. There might be a pretty intense, fiery emotional backlash today on this full moon, and the day or so after. In particular, because Mars, the ruler of Aries, is also in Sagittarius now, very righteous and self-interested, especially as it relates to higher principles and teachings. I just did a video teaching about Mars, which is going to be in Sagittarius until early 2015, so you want to look that over as well, because that ruler is going to show the sort of environment through which that full moon is functioning, because it is Aries. But in general, you want to keep these things in mind. A couple other things that have just changed. We just had Saturn now move out of Libra, where it's been since the end of 2011. Saturn is now in Scorpio, which is, we're all getting used to it. It takes a week or so, or even a few weeks, up to a month or so, to get used to Saturn moving into a new sign, because it's been literally, it's the end of a almost 3-year phase. So we're still getting used to Saturn in Scorpio, which is bringing up a lot of reckoning and a lot of vulnerability and stress and worry and fear maybe around how we've been treating people, because we've been working on treating people better since Saturn went through Libra. Then Scorpio is the sign where we actually feel the pain or pressure of how we're handling people. So Saturn is going to be camped out there for the next couple of years. I did a web class about that, which you should really check out. It's a free web class. It talks about all the 12 signs, including yours, so you want to definitely look that over as well. But in general, this is about that full moon in Aries, and if you want to see how this is going to affect your sign and you're not a member of my site, you should join and check it out. Only 1 penny. You get daily forecasts delivered to your email inbox, and also on these full moons and new moons, you also get a report about your sign. So I hope things are going well. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think.